Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make fursuit paws. So I'm going to start by briefly giving you an idea of how I make my patterns. So here, this is when I was making a 5-fingered pattern for a protogen. Generally, my patterns are a one size fits most. I model them off of my own hand, so they're not like the overly big cutesy paws. They're usually about the size of a normal hand and fit a bit tighter than most. What you want to do is just make out your pattern, and then you're going to trace it onto foam. After you've traced the pattern out on your foam, you're going to want to cut it in the 3D shape that you're looking for. So for a protogen claw, it's just like a bit puffy on the top, and then it's going to have a flat bottom. So you want the edge or the bottom of the claw that's connecting to the actual palm part to be flat. You actually want the edges in general to be flat. And to specify, this is how you make patterns for puffy paws. If you want to make a flat paw, it's the same general principle, except you don't have to do the foam part that I'm doing. You just trace it all down onto paper and then cut it out. And like with all the fursuit stuff, when working with foam, the way to make a pattern is to tape it and then transfer that tape onto paper and then cut it out. So for each partial, I used a different puffy paw pattern. I used a 5-finger puffy paw pattern for the Fusky and a 4-finger puffy paw pattern for the Cougar, both of them my company patterns. You'll notice as the video goes on, a lot of this tutorial is self-explanatory. A lot of it is just cutting, shaving, and assembly. So the most important part is how I assemble the paws, and since this is my company pattern, this is how I assemble stuff, and it probably won't be the same as a lot of other makers and how they construct their paws. So remember, everybody's tutorials are different. I like to start by prepping all my pieces so I can assemble them all in one go. It makes the process a lot easier, so I'll cut out all the minky for the paw pads, then I'll put all the paw pads on, then I'll move over to the claws, and then I'll put the claws on, and then you'll see I attach the fingers to the paws. After prepping, I stop using a sewing machine and hand sew, so if you are following this tutorial, you can use a sewing machine, but if you're using this pattern, you might have to add your own seam allowance, as my pattern does not have large margins for seam allowance, so I prefer to hand sew rather than machine sew. There are many ways to line paws. I like to line my paws on one side. You can also use the pillow method. You can line them on both sides. Whatever you want to do just to keep the stuffing on the inside of paws. You don't have to do this. This is just to make your paws look neater. This is where we move on to the cuff. So what I do for the cuff is I'll take a piece of fabric, I like to use Minky, and then I'll put Minky side down and sew it to the fur side, and then flip it over on the same side as the fur. I'll sew between the Minky and the fur. It doesn't make sense with my words, but you'll literally see exactly what I'm doing, and this is how I do a cuff. After you're done with your finishing touches like shaving and touch-ups, you are now done with your fursuit paws. I hope you guys found this video educational, and I hope it gave you a bit more insight on how I do my fursuit paws. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!